The night sky above Colorado blazed with an unnatural green fire as something massive tore through the atmosphere. Jake Martinez pressed his face against the cold window of the remote medical station, watching trails of emerald light streak across the darkness. 28 years old and seasoned in emergency medicine, he had seen his share of unusual incidents in this isolated mountain region, but nothing quite like this. The impact shook the entire building. Coffee mugs rattled on shelves, and the emergency radio crackled to life with confused chatter from nearby towns. Jake grabbed his medical kit without hesitation. Years of training as a field medic had taught him that someone, somewhere, was probably hurt and needed help. The crash site lay 2 miles through dense forest. Jake's flashlight cut through the darkness as he navigated fallen trees and scattered debris that glowed with an otherworldly phosphorescence. The air smelled of ozone and something sweet he couldn't identify. When he finally reached the crater, his breath caught in his throat. First contact with the vessel was unlike anything from Earth. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, shifting between silver and deep purple. Steam hissed from cracks in its hull, and strange symbols pulsed with fading light. Jake approached cautiously, his medical instincts overriding his fear. If there was a pilot inside, they needed immediate attention. A section of the hull had been torn away, revealing a chamber filled with crystalline formations and flowing tubes that seemed more grown than built. In the center, strapped to what might have been a control seat, was a figure that made Jake's world tilt sideways. She was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin held a faint blue luminescence, and intricate patterns like circuit boards traced along her arms and face. Her hair was white as starlight, and when she stirred weakly, Jake glimpsed eyes the color of deep ocean water. She wore form-fitting armor that seemed to be made of the same shifting material as her ship. Blood seeped from multiple wounds, some clearly from the crash, others looking older. Her breathing was labored, and Jake could see signs of severe internal trauma. Whatever she was, wherever she came from, she was dying. The choice Jake stood frozen for precious seconds. Every rational part of his mind screamed that he should call the authorities, that this was beyond anything he could handle. But the medic in him saw only a patient in critical condition. He had taken an oath to save lives, regardless of who or what they might be. He climbed into the strange vessel, noting how the temperature inside felt perfectly comfortable despite the mountain's October chill. The alien woman's eyes fluttered open as he approached. She tried to speak, but only a melodic liquid sound emerged. Her hand moved weakly toward a device on her belt, but she lacked the strength to reach it. Jake gently restrained her movement. In any language, his tone was universal as he spoke softly while examining her injuries. The external wounds were serious but manageable. What worried him more were the signs of internal bleeding and what appeared to be some kind of toxin in her system, indicated by dark veins spreading beneath her luminescent skin. Bridging 2 worlds, working by flashlight and instinct, Jake began, applying what medical knowledge he could. Her anatomy was similar enough to human that he could identify major blood vessels and organs, but different enough that he had to improvise constantly. Her blood was a deep blue color and seemed to carry more oxygen than human blood, which explained her skin's faint glow. As he worked, the alien woman watched him with those deep ocean eyes. Despite her pain, there was an intelligence there that reminded him of the combat veterans he had treated, a hardness born of experience but tempered by something else. When he cleaned and stitched her wounds, she endured the pain without complaint, only gripping the edge of her seat with enough force to leave marks in the metal. The device she had been reaching for continued to pulse weakly. Jake carefully removed it from her belt, noting its crystalline structure and the way it seemed to respond to her touch. When he placed it in her hand, her eyes closed in what might have been relief. The device projected a series of images above. their heads showing star charts, other members of her species, and what looked like a dying planet. Understanding, the woman pressed the device again, and suddenly Jake's mind filled with images and emotions that weren't his own. He saw through. Her eyes, as ships like hers fled a world being consumed by some kind of cosmic plague. He felt her desperation, her mission to find help among the stars, and her surprise at finding not just a habitable world, but intelligent life willing to help her. Her name was Kira, and she was a warrior of the Astral Guard, defenders of the Nexus Collective. Her people were dying from an energy plague that consumed their life force, and she had been sent to find a cure among the distant stars. Earth's unique bioenergy had drawn her here, but now she was trapped, wounded, and running out of time. Jake felt her gratitude washing over him in waves, mixed with something else he couldn't quite identify. As their mental connection faded, Kira's hand found his, her touch cool but somehow comforting. Despite the language barrier, despite the impossibility of the situation, something passed between them in that moment that transcended species. The secret by dawn, Jake had done everything he could with field medicine. Kira was stable but needed more advanced care than he could provide in the wilderness. The problem was how to get her help without exposing her to a world that would see her as either a threat or a prize to be studied. He made a decision that would change both their lives. Using a combination of wilderness survival skills and medical knowledge, Jake carefully moved Kira to an abandoned research station deeper in the mountains. The facility had been used to study high-altitude medicine before being shut down, but its equipment was still functional. As he worked to set up a makeshift medical bay, Kira drifted in and out of consciousness. During her lucid moments, she would touch the device and share more images with him. Her world, her people, the devastating plague that was consuming everything she had ever known. With each shared vision, Jake felt himself becoming more invested in her survival, and not just as a patient. There was something about Kira that drew him in. Perhaps it was her obvious strength and determination, or the way she faced pain without complaint. Maybe it was the glimpses he caught of her world, so different, yet facing the same struggles for survival the humans knew all too well. Whatever it was, Jake found himself thinking of her not as an alien, but as someone who needed his help. As night fell on their first day together, Jake sat beside Kira's makeshift bed, monitoring her vital signs and wondering what he had gotten himself into. Outside, he could hear helicopters in the distance, search parties looking for the source of last night's mysterious crash. He had hidden the ship as best he could, but he knew it was only a matter of time before someone found it. Kira stirred, her ocean blue eyes finding his in the dim light. For a moment, neither moved. Then, slowly, she raised her hand to his cheek, her touch gentle and questioning. Jake didn't pull away. In that simple gesture, he felt the beginning of something that would challenge everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and what it meant to be human. The hidden sanctuary. 3 days had passed since Jake brought Kira to the abandoned research station. The facility, nestled deep in the Rocky Mountains, had become their secret world. Jake had rigged the solar panels to provide power and used his medical connections to quietly acquire supplies without raising suspicion. Kira's recovery was remarkable, her alien physiology healing faster than any human could. During the quiet hours between her treatments, they had developed a way to communicate that went beyond the device's translations. Jake would point to objects and speak their names, while Kira would respond with melodic sounds from her language. Her voice reminded him of wind chimes mixed with flowing water, beautiful and otherworldly. The mental connection through her device had grown stronger too. When Kira shared memories of her home world, Celestara, Jake could almost feel the twin suns on his face and smell the crystalline flowers that grew in their cities. In return, he showed her Earth through his eyes, sharing memories of sunsets over the mountains, the taste of hot coffee on cold mornings, and the satisfaction of saving lives. Growing attraction, what surprised Jake most was how naturally they fit together. Despite being from different worlds, Kira had a sense of humor that emerged as she grew stronger. She would mimic his expressions with exaggerated precision, making him laugh despite the seriousness of their situation. When he worked late into the night monitoring her recovery, she would hum soft melodies that seemed to ease his exhaustion. Kira, for her part, found herself fascinated by Jake's dedication. In her warrior culture, strength was measured in combat prowess and tactical skill. But Jake's strength was different, gentler yet equally powerful. She watched him work with a precision that reminded her of master craftsmen, his hands steady, whether he was adjusting medical equipment or simply bringing her water. The attraction between them grew slowly, like a flower blooming in careful stages. It began with lingering glances when they thought the other wasn't looking. Jake would find himself studying the way starlight caught in Kira's white hair, while she would watch his face as he concentrated on his work, noting the kindness in his brown eyes. The discovery, their peaceful isolation, shattered on the fourth morning when the sound of helicopters grew too close to ignore. Jake rushed to the window and cursed under his breath. 3 military choppers circled the area, and he could see repelling equipment being prepared. General Rebecca Torres had been hunting for the source of the mysterious crash since the first night. Satellite imagery had detected unusual energy signatures in this region, and her team had finally narrowed down the search area. As the commanding officer of the military's classified anomalous phenomena division, she had dealt with unexplained incidents before, but never anything quite like this. Jake quickly helped Kira to a hidden basement level he had discovered earlier. The research station had been designed with secure areas for sensitive experiments, and the basement was shielded from most forms of detection. As military boots thundered overhead, Jake and Kira huddled together in the darkness, her device dimmed. To avoid any energy emissions, the soldiers searched methodically, but found only an apparently abandoned facility. Jake had been careful to make it look like he had never been there, hiding all evidence of recent habitation. After 2 tense hours, the search team departed, but not before planting motion sensors around the perimeter, deepening bond the close. Call forced them to acknowledge what had been building between them. In the cramped basement hideout, pressed close together and speaking in whispers, the barriers between them finally began to crumble. Kira placed her hand over Jake's heart, feeling its rapid rhythm, while he gently traced the luminescent patterns. On her arm. Through her device, Kira shared the truth about her mission. The energy plague consuming her world was not natural, but the result of an ancient weapon that fed on life force itself. Her people had detected similar energy signatures from Earth, but instead of the destructive force they expected, they found something different. Human life energy was uniquely chaotic and creative, potentially the key to developing an antidote. Jake understood the implications immediately. If Kira's people could study human bioenergy, they might be able to save themselves. But if Earth's governments discovered an alien species interested in human energy, the response would likely be hostile. The very thing that could save Kira's world might trigger a war between their species. As night fell, they made their way back to the main level. Jake prepared a simple meal while Kira sat by the window, gazing at the stars. The device lay dormant. Between them, no longer needed for basic communication. They had learned to read each other's expressions, to find meaning in gestures and tone, the moment it happened without words. Jake brought Kira her food and found her crying, tears like liquid starlight tracing down her cheeks. Through their growing connection, he felt her grief for her dying world, her fear that she had failed her mission, and her confusion about the feelings growing between them. In her culture, warriors did not form bonds with other species. It was considered a weakness, a distraction from beauty. But as Jake gently wiped away her tears, Kira realized that what she felt for him was the opposite of weakness. His compassion had given her hope when she had none, his courage in helping her despite the risks had shown her a different kind of strength. Jake cupped her face in his hands, looking into those ocean-deep eyes. He had fallen in love with patience before. He told himself it was an occupational hazard. But this was different. Kira wasn't just someone he was treating. She was someone who had shown him wonders beyond his imagination, who had trusted him, with secrets that could change the fate of two worlds. When they kissed, it was tentative at first, an exploration across the vast distance between species. But the connection that had been building through shared thoughts and experiences made the physical contact feel natural, right? Kira's lips were cool but warmed under his touch, and Jake could taste something sweet and electric, like lightning mixed with honey. The plan they talked through the night, sharing dreams and fears in the mixture of languages and mental images they had developed. Jake learned that Kira's ship was not just a vessel, but a living entity, bonded to her through genetic markers. It was badly damaged, but might be repairable with Earth technology and materials. Revealed that she was not the only one searching for a cure. Other members of the Astral Guard had been sent to different star systems, each racing against time as their world continued to die. If she could return with proof the humans held the key to salvation, her people might be willing to negotiate rather than simply take what they needed. Jake made a decision that surprised them both. He volunteered to return with her to Salastara, to offer himself as a willing subject for their research. His medical knowledge might help bridge the gap between human and alien science, and his presence would demonstrate that cooperation was possible. The idea terrified and excited Kira in equal measure. Taking Jake to her world would violate every protocol she had ever learned. But it might also be the key to saving both their species from a conflict that could destroy them all. The betrayal, their planning, was interrupted by the sound of vehicles approaching at dawn. Jake peered through the window and felt his heart sink. General Torres had returned, this time with a full convoy and detection equipment that would penetrate any hiding place. Worse, Jake recognized one of the figures stepping out of the lead vehicle. Dr. Michael Chun, his former supervisor at the medical center, the man who had recommended him for this remote posting. Somehow, Chun had connected Jake to the mysterious energy readings in the area. As soldiers surrounded the facility, Jake realized they had minutes before discovery. Kira was strong enough to fight, but not against an entire military unit. Their only option was surrender, but Jake knew what that would mean. Kira would become a laboratory specimen, her secrets extracted through methods that would destroy everything beautiful about her. He made a choice that would haunt him. Kissing Kira one last time, he whispered for her to hide in the basement and stay there no matter what happened. Then he walked outside, hands raised, to face the soldiers alone. General Torres approached him with professional courtesy, but cold eyes. Dr. Chun stood beside her, his expression unreadable. Jake prepared to lie, to misdirect, to do whatever it took to protect the woman he loved. But as he opened his mouth to speak, energy readings spiked on the military scanners. Deep underground, Kira's ship was responding to her emotional distress, its biomechanical systems awakening. The hunt was about to begin in earnest, and Jake realized that their love story had just become something much more dangerous. The capture, the military scanners screamed as Kira's ship powered up in response to her emotional turmoil. General Torres barked orders while soldiers took defensive positions around the research station. Jake stood frozen in the center of the chaos, knowing that every second brought Kira closer to discovery. Dr. Chun approached him with scanner in hand, its readings spiking as it detected alien biosignatures. 20 years of friendship meant nothing now, as Chan's eyes held only scientific curiosity and ambition. He had spent his career searching for proof of extraterrestrial life, and Jake had unknowingly led him to the greatest discovery in human history. The basement walls couldn't contain the energy emissions any longer. With a sound like singing crystal, Kira emerged from hiding, her armor fully activated and glowing with defensive patterns. She moved with fluid grace, but Jake could see the pain in her movements. She was still recovering and couldn't sustain a prolonged fight. General Torres raised her weapon, shouting commands for the alien to surrender. But Kira's warrior training took over. She activated her device, sending out a pulse that temporarily disrupted the military equipment. In the confusion, she reached Jake, her hand finding his with desperate intensity. Through their connection, she shared a final message. Her ship had detected incoming vessels, not human, but from her own world. Commander Vex of the Astral Guard had tracked her signal and was approaching Earth with orders to retrieve her by any means necessary. The peaceful first contact Jake had hoped for was about to become an interplanetary incident. The hunt begins. The capture was swift and efficient. Kira's weakened state made resistance futile, and Jake surrendered peacefully to prevent her from being harmed in the crossfire. They were separated immediately, Kira taken to a secure facility for examination, while Jake faced interrogation about his involvement with an alien entity. General Torres led the questioning personally. She was a career military officer who had built her reputation on handling impossible situations, but this was beyond anything in her experience. Jake's medical background made him valuable as a liaison, but his obvious emotional attachment to the alien made him a security risk. Jake told them everything he could without revealing Kira's mission details. He described her crash, her injuries, the way her technology worked through biological interfaces. But he refused to provide information that could be used as weapons against her people. Torres respected his medical ethics, even as she questioned his judgment. Meanwhile, Kira endured examination in an underground facility designed for containing dangerous anomalies. The scientists were fascinated by her physiology, her technology, her very existence. But they approached her as a specimen rather than a person, something that became clear when Dr. Chun arrived to oversee the research personally. The arrival 3 days into their captivity, long-range sensors detected the approach of an alien vessel. Unlike Kira's damaged scout ship, this was a full warship of the Astral Guard, bristling with weapons and shielded against Earth's primitive detection methods. It took a position beyond the moon and sent a single message in perfect English. Commander Vex demanded the immediate return of their lost warrior. He gave Earth's governments 24 hours to comply before he would retrieve her by force. The message included technical specifications that made clear his ship could devastate entire cities without breaking orbit. General Torres found herself in an impossible position. Releasing Kira meant admitting that Earth had captured and studied an alien visitor, potentially triggering further conflicts. But refusing meant facing technology centuries beyond human capability. The politicians wanted to negotiate, the scientists wanted to study, and the military wanted to prepare for war. Jake was brought from his cell to serve as a translator and mediator. His connection to Kira made him the only human who might be able to facilitate peaceful communication. But when he saw what 3 days of examination had done to her, his careful diplomatic intentions crumbled into rage. The choice Kira was weakened but unbroken when Jake was finally allowed to see her. The scientists had been careful not to cause permanent damage, but her luminescent patterns had dimmed, and her ocean blue eyes held depths of exhaustion. When she saw Jake, relief flooded through their connection, so strongly it nearly brought him to his knees. Through her device, now heavily monitored by human scientists, Kira shared the true gravity of their situation. Commander Vex was not coming. to rescue her, but to eliminate the evidence of her mission's failure. In Astral Guard protocol, any warrior who revealed their technology to primitive species was considered compromised beyond redemption. Jake realized that Kira faced execution whether she returned to her people or remained on Earth. The only way to save her was to find a third option, something that would satisfy both species while protecting the woman he loved. This solution came to him with startling clarity, born from his medical training and his growing understanding of alien technology. He proposed himself as a bridge between the species. If he could demonstrate that humans and Kira's people could work together, that cooperation was possible. It might prevent the conflict that would destroy them all, but it would require him to leave Earth forever, to join Kira among the stars, and help develop the cure her people desperately needed. General Torres was skeptical, but faced with the alternative of interplanetary war, she was willing to consider any option. Dr. Chun objected strenuously, seeing Jake's proposal as throwing away humanity's greatest discovery. But Jake had made his choice the moment he first helped Kira in that crashed ship. The sacrifice the meeting took place in Earth's orbital space, with Kira's ship serving as neutral ground. Commander Vex was a towering figure even among his own species, his armor scarred from countless battles, and his eyes holding the coldness of deep space. He regarded humans as barely evolved primitives, useful only for the energy signatures they might provide. Jake spoke for Earth, with Kira translating through their shared connection. He offered not just his own knowledge, but a formal alliance between the species. Humans would provide willing volunteers for research into the energy plague, while Kira's people would share technology that could benefit both civilizations. The negotiation was tense, with Vex clearly preferring the direct approach of simply taking what they needed. But Jake's proposal offered something the Astral Guard hadn't considered: sustainability. Instead of harvesting human energy until Earth was depleted, they could develop renewable methods that preserved both species. Kira stood between the two groups, her allegiance torn between duty to her people and love for Jake. When Vex demanded she choose between her oath as a warrior and her attachment to a primitive alien, she made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She resigned her commission in the Astral Guard and requested asylum with Earth's governments. It was an unprecedented act that sent shockwaves through both delegations. By renouncing her warrior status, she freed herself from military orders while demonstrating the depth of trust possible between their species. Love's victory. Commander Vex was furious, but constrained by his own people's laws. A warrior who formally resigned could not be compelled to return, though she would be stripped of rank and status among her own kind. Kira accepted these consequences without hesitation, her choice made clear by the way she stood beside Jake as he spoke. The final agreement was complex but workable. A small group of human volunteers, led by Jake, would travel to Shalastara to work with their scientists. In exchange, a similar group of Kira's people would establish a research station on Earth. Both species would maintain their independence while working together toward mutual survival. Dr. Chun was selected to lead Earth's side of the research, his expertise overcoming his earlier objections. General Torres coordinated security arrangements that would protect both species' interests, and Jake prepared for a journey beyond anything he had ever imagined. The night before departure, Jake and Kira stood together on the observation deck of the space station that had become their temporary home. Earth hung below them, a blue marble that had become precious now that Jake was leaving it behind. Kira's hand found his, their fingers intertwining as naturally as if they had been designed for each other. Through their connection, she shared visions of Celestara as it had been before the plague, crystalline cities that sang in harmony with twin suns, forests of trees that grew like living jewels, oceans that reflected starlight in patterns too beautiful for human eyes. But she also showed him what it could become again, healed through cooperation between their peoples. Jake had given up everything for love, but as he looked into Kira's eyes, he knew he had gained far more than he had lost. Their love story had become the foundation for something greater, proof that understanding could bridge any distance, that compassion could overcome any difference, and that love truly was a universal force. The new beginning 6 months later, Jake stood in a laboratory that existed in both realities and neither. The research station orbited between Earth and Shelastara, its hybrid technology allowing scientists from both species to work together. The cure for the energy plague was still being developed, but progress was remarkable when two civilizations pooled their knowledge. Kira worked beside him, her expertise in bioenergy complementing his medical knowledge. They had become partners in every sense, their love strengthened by shared purpose. The patterns on her skin glowed brighter now, fed by the hope that had returned to her people. Other human volunteers had joined the project, creating a small community of interspecies couples. Love, it seemed, was indeed universal, transcending the boundaries of species as easily as it crossed the barriers between hearts. Each relationship was unique, but all were founded on the same principles of trust and understanding that had brought Jake and Kira together. As Jake watched Earth and Shelastara appearing together in the laboratory's main viewport, he marveled at the journey that had brought him here. What had begun as a simple act of medical compassion had become something that would reshape the galaxy itself. Kira joined him at the window, her hand slipping into his with practiced ease. Through their connection, she shared a new vision. Children who carried the best of both species. Cities where humans and our people lived together. A future where love had conquered the vast loneliness of space itself. Jake smiled, pulling her closer as they watched two worlds spinning in harmony. He had once thought love was about finding someone who completed you. Now he knew it was about finding someone who inspired you to become more than you ever dreamed possible. And in Kira's arms, surrounded by the infinite stars, Jake had found a love that was truly out of this world. The end.